tinikare, tena tato tiba sumde trebayon kin lenos, chizo chirama ilalo tato ki tiba tela kareresine sum yores, nitu ki tato ki tiba tang, ani karere ranja ki tato ki tiba chimi tato ki tiba tela, ani sum o tu chini kilingaresa di chiresha.
Kandesungre, tato ki tekpa.
Tato ki tiba, tato ki lam tisena ngado, o tela katse yoresina, sum stu chini kilingiresa, nitu ki tato ki tiba, ranja ki tato ki tiba, ani janjo sumbi tato ki tibas, sum tu chini shigiresa di chiresha.
So, tekwa lana ta tekwa sumla edira.
Dire tiba sumna.
So then, the Webashika school, they also, as we discussed before, then they make a presentation of the three vehicles too. So the three vehicles are the hearers, the solitary realizers, and the Sumbadita Chanjusamra. The great vehicle of the Bodhisattva path. Yes.
Takaji Tumba Nyangeli Dibi, the Jangashi Gumoni, Zugu Duba Sanyeje, Tana Nyangeli Diba Meji Mawande, Nyado Nyuma Sibaos. Chezo Chitama Ilola, and in Kashi Kareseresna, and the Dajatamade, Doji de la Pe Nyangeli Dibate, and the Dijigimola Karesna, Nyangeli Dibi Chutem Barimato, Muni Nyangeli Di Yuresna, Yamares, to the Dishi Janki Yurete, the Dishi Jadinkite, Tata Digiri Usna, Digu Mares, Chitama Lola, Karesna, to the Dishi Jakite, Tiba Chimbo Kijarimato, Timia maybe Lola, or to dig Dishi Jaguares in the Jagu Mares, the Dishi de Tana del Javina, and the Yana Numani in his Sisha Gores, or the Trijaya Mares at Jerisha.
So there are some explanations that are, or there are some Webashika proponents of the Webashika school, when they talk about the Buddha passing away and achieving passing away, or the parinirvana of the Buddha, then they say like the Buddha did not actually pass away. Did not actually pass away, but like he acted as if he passed away. So there's some proponents of Vipashika, they make this statement, and this statement here in the text, it says is a complete confusion, and the kind of analogy given here is like the confusing fish and turnips. So So this is like a phrase that's used in like colloquial Tibetan. Don't confuse fish and turnips. So this is saying like, this is an assertion that a greater vehicle would make. So if you kind of take that assertion and say that the Buddha did not actually pass away, then you are confusing it. You are confusing the assertion of a greater vehicle. And so you are like actually confusing between what is fish and what is a turnip.
Doji dena daja tama nyangeli dibade chute mare madu tengubi nidela nyangeli diris nyangeli dia yo mares deshi jade gora chezo kunji tere to yo mares o deshi de gora.
So when they say they do not like confuse fish and turnips for each other, when the text says such a thing, then it means that we have to differentiate between the assertions made by the greater vehicle schools and the lesser or the smaller vehicle schools about the parinirvana of the Buddha or the passing away of the Buddha, wherein the Vibhashika school or the smaller vehicle schools, they actually assert that the Buddha actually passed away. And then we have to hold on to that assertion as an assertion of the Vibhashika school. And the assertion that the Buddha acted as if he passed away should be only the assertion of the greater vehicle schools.
Sanji pabi dugu malu papanjo ti jola duden yoba magade duden la mi nyomo malu pompa na dode pompa jubichi hotere ta chedama i kan de chija gresana sanji undu 아니 도구 말로 뽕버레데 이나요 쿠줄라 동아 덴바 여레스네 데레 동아 덴바 뽕스그레 아니 덴스그레스 가레스나 그런 거 대시 뒤진데 자그레사 디제리디샤.
So still more like unique or like unique assertions of the Vaibhashika schools regarding the Buddha or someone who has achieved Buddhahood. So when the Phagwe Sangyesura
산지파바 산지파바는 산지바 나서 그러다 산지로디 다자자마로 도지되는 거 가지고 손집이 네가 도대 말리바 뽕바레시 동아도 말리바 뽕스그레디
동해다 군중
동아도 군중 뽕스그레디 얘나요 그절라 도대데 여레스나 여스그레 뽕스그레 지라마 그런 가레스나 대시 자동지 들으리도
So then for them it's not contradictory to say that when someone who has achieved Buddhahood or when someone has achieved who has become a Buddha, then it is not contradictory to say that even though they have abandoned suffering and its origins without exception, then it's still not contradictory for them to say that true suffering still exists within their continuum.
다 도데레 미비 니모 말레보 봉바나 도데 봉바 주비치 제소 다 동아데만도 아니 저런 동아데마 뽕스 가르스 그랬는데 어때 뽕그래서 도데데레 미비 니모데 뽕도 와야자 아니 도데데 뽕스 그런 뜻이죠 도데 열이 디케요 말때 이는 도데 뽕그래서 뽕츠 가르스는 도데데 솔 미비 아니 니모데스 뽕도 와야자 아니 도데 뽕스 그런 속에네 디시 도스진의 자그래서 지레셔
So now it's not contradictory for them to say to make such an assertion because the afflictive emotions dogdempong mikpadi ta
dodele mipi nimonte pondode ni dodele pon dodele mipi nimonte yora o te pondode ni dode pon segres.
So this is because when all afflictive emotions that true sufferings that take true sufferings as their objects are abandoned, then only this is like accepted as an abandoning of true suffering. Afflictions. So the afflictive emotions that are taken as the object of true suffering are abandoned. Only then it is accepted as the abandonment of true suffering.
대체제 도대포 주비체리스 조주께는하 안에 정사 조나비 레데도 치치기 두비지 안에 산지군주 미용 안에 가르세 근데 산지스 킬레라 시다베일러 조주께네 송데 족 송데 가르 구속돼서 거라 다 구속돼 가르스나 나 정사 조나비 레데 방 치치기 두비체 안에 산지군주 레베스나 말레스 빼나가 다자도마데 도지드는 거 봐주고 손집이 니가서 가르레스나 동버델라 안디 가르레스나 장주지 심지와 장주지 심지니 대주수 조랑도 통랑도 고랑 강가 대대사 대지클라 되네 야 말로니 대지 다라 되네 그 손지바레 디시 자고라 제도 다들 가르쳐 거래서 아이나 되게 다들 막 단다기 주제데 그소데 아니 가마 가로서 비 가르스나 조선 전화받기 딱 말로서 샤리 되지 pomba 다랑 레들 마도 대 가르레스나 사바투 주투니 캐리에스나 대 말레스 대 가르레스나 조선 통말 가르스나 조선 디드르송도 조선 전화 빌리데도 지바인자 치치기 디베 가라가로서 티디 페빌리 트레디베 리데도 pombo인자 대 손지 군주레스나 대 산지 군주 말레스 나저 디비 주주 pom보데서 거라다 pom보데 네 가말 렌데 pom보 다랑 레마도 대 이지자 대 산지레스네 대 산지 말에 대 동아데 말레스 단 대시 자고 그래
산지 군주 되기요 말서
산지 군주 되게 말레스
산지라 되르스
이네요 산지 킬링그레 세테 디르트리 송이도 산지 군주 미요 안네 산지 킬레라 다 그런 거 들리지 송이도
So then now moving on moving on and still tying into the assertion that's made like before wherein it's not contradictory for them to say that true suffering exists within the continuum of a Buddha. Now this is kind of illustrated with this example that's given here about the three refuge, the Buddha jewel, the Sangha jewel, and then the Dharma jewel, right? So now when we talk about the Buddha jewel, then at the instance when the Buddha achieves like a nirvana, when he has that physical body, this physical base, the Vaibhashika school, they do not differentiate between this physical base and the one physical base that we have as sentient beings, and the physical base that the Buddha has when he's in a meditative equipoise and about to and achieves nirvana. And there is no difference between these two bodies. It's still contaminated. So this is why they say that the physical body of the Buddha, even when he achieves like nirvana, is not a Buddha jewel. It is accepted that it's a Buddha, but it is not a Buddha jewel.
The body is not.
Yeah, so you cannot like kind of take refuge in the body. Yes.
제저 다 그런 게 놀라 다 산지 그소데 산지 군주 미스 라와 있자 다 산지 군주 가르쳐 버려서나 산지 군주니 디 주제 세메지 위신이라 산지 군주 가르쳐서 다 산지 그런 거 주제 아니 가르쳐서는 세바도 미지 위시바데 내가 또 거다 물러는데 니 가르쳐서는 세바도 미지 위시바 물러는데 그런 거 주지 남데 아니 산지 군주리마다 산지 그런 그런 거 풍부돼서 아니 산지 군주 레베스나 말해서 산지 군주 쇼스에도 그런 거 주지다 세바도 미지 위시랑 다른 샤고 그래서 제가 메일로 되지
밀롭람라게
물러는데 되잖아요.
So then one point that we kind of I failed to translate is like in the previous example when we talk about the Buddha jewel, that the physical base of the Buddha when he sits in this meditative equipoise, and then wherein like in one sitting he actualizes the three parts, the part of preparation, the part of now three parts, the part of preparation, 다기 테마직을 슈드서 뭐숨 그래 람숨디 뒤직을 뒤치기를 songa
쥐를
찌기를 디 람숨디 강강소래
조나 토나 데로와 데 조나도 토나도네 조나 고람 토나사데 말해 디스코
레레레
조나도 토나 고람 데데 디섬데레
Jorlam, Dorlam, Jorlam, Tonglam, Gomlam. So in one meditative sitting, then like he's able to actualize these three parts: the part of preparation, the part of meditation, and the part of seeing. And now, so even at the part of seeing, at this instance, it's not the Buddha with this physical base is not accepted as a Buddha jewel. Right, and even though he is accepted to be a Buddha, he's still not accepted as a Buddha jewel. Now, then what do they assert to be a Buddha jewel? Now, the Buddha jewel is asserted to be at the path of no more learning. There is an innate wisdom of extinction of the obstructions, and the wisdom that the obstructions will be never produced again in the mental continuum at the path of no more learning. Now that wisdom, these two wisdoms of extinction and wisdom that the obstructions will never be produced again are accepted as the Buddha jewel.
laba pabe kansa na saji bi gindu kunju mela pabe kansa deso pabe kansa deso gindu kunju revesina de mares ani gindu kunju kare jagorsina pabe kansa ge juji ani lamde de la ani karesina gindu kunju jagore gindu kunju ne tejula pabe kansa ge jula yobi lamde deso la ani gindu kunju jagore mato tejula de pabe kansa deso gindu kunju revesina gindu kunju mares
so then taking this kind of way of differentiating between a Buddha and a Buddha jewel, then the same kind of logic is applied to differentiating between these between the jewel between the jewel of the Sangha and the persons of the Sangha. Now the persons of the Sangha would here be like the supreme beings, right? So the supreme beings are not accepted as the jewel of Sangha, and then what is accepted as the jewel of Sangha? Then this jewel of Sangha is accepted as the true parts that exist in the mental continuum of the supreme beings. So the true parts is actually accepted as the Sangha jewel. Yes.
대체 다 추군주의 지라멜로 가르자고래서나 니트 랑 산제도 니롱구 주지 년디디 고데데라랑 추군주샤 그래서 그런 주지 가르서 추 지라멜로 추군주서야 돼 가르서나 다 파비 관사기 대서 그 주지 고데 또 아니 년디데서 가르나 딱 고데스 되기도 고데데서라 아니 추군주샤 그래서 이제리샤.
So similarly now, how do they differentiate between Dharma and Dharma jewel? So then the Chugunjul and Shana Kunzugi Karela Shagi Maris Mureki.
Chugunjusia derwata, Nazo in a Tiba Chiba de Soina, good Landeton, Godinija Chugunjushawa. Tacherabu Teshar Maris, Chugunjusia, Gode on the Mato, Landen Shabresina, Shag Maris, or Teji Chiba Chibu Teji.
So then the Buddha jewel, no, the Dharma jewel is accepted to be only the truth of cessation. The truth of cessation is accepted as the Buddha jewel, no, the Dharma jewel, and wherein, like in contrast to the way the greater vehicles explain it, the greater vehicles they say lamden da godenija chugunjoing sonra. The So in the greater vehicle, true cessation or the truth of cessation and the true paths are both accepted. These two are accepted to be the Dharma jewel. But the Vaibhashika school, they say like only true cessations or the truth of cessation is Dharma jewel.
어때지 치바치도 다 가르쳐줘서는 제가 매일로 짜선이 자도데 티바치보도 만다와 차사브레스 대지저들이도.
So with this kind of presentation about the three jewels, then the way the Vaibhashika school posit the three jewels is completely in odds with the way the greater vehicle schools explain the three jewels.
다들 자도 다 가르쳐서 그래서 지라메일로 산지군주스야 가르치나 산지기 주지 몰라라 세바도 메치워치 비시 세바도 메치위치 비시바텔라 아니 가르치나 산지기 주지 세바도 메치위 시바스네 두두 하나 몰라람텔라 산지군 주어지지 긴두군 주지 가르치나 파비가사 그 주지 람데데 긴두군 주어지지 그래서 주군 주지 가르치나 파비가사 그 주지 고데데 주군 주지.
So, Jewel again. So then, now like to kind of sum up how they talk about the three jewels. Then the first jewel, the Buddha jewel, they say the Buddha jewel is the wisdom that exists in the mental continuum of a Buddha. And which wisdom? The wisdom of extinction of the obstructions and the wisdom that the obstructions will never be produced again. These two wisdoms that are present in the mental continuum of a Buddha is accepted as the Buddha jewel, not the physical base of a Buddha as the Buddha jewel. And then when we talk about the Sangha jewel or the community jewel, then they say that the Supreme Being in themselves are not the Sangha jewel. The Sangha jewel would be the true paths that are existent in the mental continuum of a Supreme Being. The true paths is accepted as the Sangha jewel. Or Sangha jewel. And then the Dharma jewel or the doctrine jewel will be accepted as the true cessations that are existent in the mental continuum of a Supreme Being as the Dharma jewel. Yes.
됐어요. 대체 다 티바침을 때 찾아라 그래서 산지 코로요 산지 군주에서 그래 산지 규주제 람데서요 그래서 산지 군주에서 대지 그래서.
So then in contrast to this Vaibhashika presentation of the three jewels, in the greater vehicle schools, they assert that when we talk about the Buddha jewel, then they say that the Buddha himself and the parts that exist in the mental continuum of the Buddha, both are accepted as the Buddha jewel.
다나시게다 기두 군주스야 파비 가자롱라 파비 가자 되서라 아니 가르스는 고데도 란데 줄을 된데기 가자 되서라 가르스는 아니 기니 군주스 티바치밀로라 어토치 시작그래서
고딘다 람딩 이자로
말이다. 겐두 군주스용 가르스는 고네달란데 줄을 딩킹이 파비 강사데. 그 줄을 딩킹이 강사데라 가르스나 파비 강사데라 아니 겐두 군주스네. 대샤그레스 왔어.
So then now about the of the Sangha jewel, then in the greater vehicle school, they say that the person of Supreme Being who has this, like who has this this true cessations and true paths in their mental continuum, the person of the Supreme Being itself is accepted as the Dharma, the Sangha jewel. Not specifically the true paths or the cessations that exist in their mental continuum, but the person of the Supreme Being themselves. So then, as discussed before about the Dharma jewel or the doctrine jewel, then they assert that the true cessations and true paths, both that exist in the mental continuum of a Supreme Being, is accepted as the doctrine jewel or Dharma jewel.
Takaresna, Jasangi Naja Shedon de this Damason Karesna, Tiba Chimbadon, Jerami Lola, and Jasangi Naja Jadon Madavate, and the Kare de Mazu di Hakobe didn't cheat Karesna, Tiba Chimbadon, Jerama Konongi, and the Jandobi, Jasangi Naja Shadon de this Madava Doa, or they not also Hakobe cheat to Sinavadesha, Teje. So
then I think it is kind of important to make note of this kind of distinction between the way the greater and lesser vehicles make their presentation about the three jewels. So with this, we have covered the assertions that the Vaibhashika school make on the basis of path, fruit, on the basis of base, path, and fruit, and then the unique assertions that this school has. So yeah.
Tene da soni ngazu duchini ma dinima so ata juma de no de banima do yin sti parola ne chetama yukola yo hamago tudu da boyo ne ti parola to do soni to ko ne digres ni shubani tada do de bala dujin ma ne endesi ne do is and it's some tenets and tilshas no.
So with this we have finished the discussion on the Vaibhashika school, and now from the next class we'll start with the Sutra school. And before we move on to the Sutra school, if you have any questions or doubts about the Vaibhashika school and their assertions, then the questions will be welcome at the start of the next class. But for today, we stop here.
Shinganzu Pena Dewa Malu Jumene Jire Zingwa Tinzi Jazo Shabi Sindi Pade Tinjure Chi Pade Saja Timbe Jazo Da Nijin Duzi Jibi Chungi Jin Jangu Chiche Sambe Wangi Chi Shabi Tinjin Yiju Chi Jagu Ninji Rango Karma Ba Jagu Chili Chudi Karma Ba Jagu Donjon Kar Karma Ba Ujin Ruju Chili Shabi Janjo Senjo Rambo Chi Maji Baha Chijur Chi Chiba Nyamba Neba Yang Wane Gwande Bewa Sho Jamba Bale Chida Chamba Dan Kundu Sambo Diyan Tishindi Chida Kunji Jisa Dala Che Gwa Deda Tanjera Do Thank you.